Picture this. You sell your house, you say goodbye to the Canadian winter, and you move to a small beach town in Mexico or Portugal, ready to enjoy your retirement in the sun. 6 months later, one of your government checks simply stops arriving. No warning letter, no phone call, just gone. And here's the part that shocks most seniors. It's not the pension you'd expect. Before we get into exactly which payment disappears and which ones follow you anywhere on Earth, I want to say a quick thank you. If you find this channel helpful, please consider subscribing to CPP OAS Weekly Update. It genuinely motivates us to keep researching and bringing you accurate, up-to-date pension information every single week. Now let's talk about why this topic matters so much right now in 2026. More Canadian seniors than ever are choosing to retire outside of Canada. Some are chasing warmer weather. Some are chasing a lower cost of living. Some simply want to be closer to family in another country. But almost none of them fully understand what happens to their CPP, their OAS, and their GIS the moment they leave. And that confusion can cost real money. So today, we're going to walk through each of these three benefits one at a time in plain, simple language. No jargon, no confusing government forms language, just the facts you actually need as they stand right now in 2026. Let's start with the one piece of good news, because you deserve some good news. Your CPP, the Canada Pension Plan, follows you absolutely anywhere in the world. There is no residency requirement to keep receiving it. It doesn't matter if you move to Florida, France, the Philippines, or anywhere else on the map. As long as you qualified for CPP through your working years in Canada, that payment keeps landing in your account every single month for the rest of your life. Think of CPP like a pension you already earned and locked in. You paid into it during your working years, so it belongs to you no matter where you choose to spend your retirement. For 2026, the maximum monthly CPP payment at age 65 is $1,507.65. Most Canadians don't receive the maximum. The average CPP payment is closer to $760 a month. But whatever your personal amount is, that number does not change simply because you moved abroad. Now here's where it gets more complicated, and this is exactly why so many seniors get caught off guard. Old Age Security, or OAS, works completely differently from CPP. OAS isn't based on how much you worked or contributed. It's based purely on how many years you lived in Canada as an adult. Think of it less like a paycheck you earned and more like a loyalty reward for the years you spent living here. Here is the rule you absolutely need to know. If you lived in Canada for at least 20 years after turning 18, your OAS will continue to be paid to you no matter where in the world you retire. It doesn't stop, it doesn't pause, it simply keeps arriving month after month for as long as you live. But what if you haven't hit that 20-year mark? This is where many seniors get an unpleasant surprise. If you've lived in Canada for less than 20 years as an adult, your OAS payments will stop 6 months after the month you leave the country. Not right away. You get a 6-month grace period, but after that, the payments pause until you return to Canada and re-establish your residency. Now, before you panic, there is an important exception. Canada has social security agreements with more than 50 countries around the world, including the United States, the United Kingdom, Australia, France, and Germany. If you lived or worked in one of these countries, those years can sometimes be combined with your Canadian years to help you reach that 20-year threshold. It's worth checking this carefully with Service Canada before you make any big decisions about moving. One more thing about OAS that catches people off guard. Even if you qualify to keep receiving it abroad, it is still considered taxable income. And here's a fact a lot of seniors don't know. As a non-resident, the government may apply a withholding tax directly on your OAS payment, sometimes as high as 25% before it even reaches your account. But that number isn't fixed. It depends entirely on whether Canada has a tax treaty with the country you're moving to. For example, if you move to the United States, the Canada-US tax treaty means your OAS is not subject to that withholding tax at all. But if you move to Germany, the treaty still allows Canada to tax your OAS at up to 15%. Every country is a little different, so this is something to research carefully or speak to a cross-border financial advisor about before you finalize your plans. Now let's talk about the benefit that trips up the most people, the one that vanishes the fastest, and this is the one from our opening story. The Guaranteed Income Supplement, or GIS, is designed specifically to help low-income seniors who live inside Canada, and the rule here is strict. If you leave Canada for more than 6 consecutive months, your GIS payments stop completely. It does not matter how many years you've lived in Canada. It does not matter if you meet the 20-year OAS rule. GIS is tied directly to Canadian residency, full stop. Unlike OAS, which can sometimes travel with you, GIS almost always stays behind. The moment you reestablish residency in Canada and Service Canada confirms your eligibility again, your GIS payments can resume. But while you're living abroad long-term, that income simply isn't there. This is exactly why GIS recipients need to think especially carefully before making a permanent move overseas. For many seniors, GIS makes up a meaningful part of their monthly income, sometimes over $1,000 for a single senior. Losing that without a backup plan can create real financial strain. Let's pause for a moment and put all 3 of these together, because I know that's a lot of information at once. CPP always follows you, no matter where you live, forever. OAS follows you only if you've lived in Canada for 20 years or more after turning 18. And GIS almost always stops after 6 months abroad, regardless of your history. Now, here's a question worth thinking about. What if you're not planning to leave permanently? What if it's more like spending winters somewhere warm than coming home each spring? This is actually one of the smartest strategies many Canadian seniors are using right now in 2026. As long as your total time outside Canada in a given period stays under 6 months, your GIS and your full residency-based benefits typically remain untouched. This is often called being a snowbird, and it lets seniors enjoy warmer weather for part of the year without losing any of their government income. But if you cross that 6-month line, even by accident, that's when payments can be interrupted. So keeping track of your exact travel dates matters more than most people realize. There's another piece of this puzzle that deserves your attention, and it involves your tax residency status, which is a little different from your physical location. If you sell your Canadian home, close most of your Canadian accounts, and your spouse also relocates with you, the Canada Revenue Agency may consider you a non-resident for tax purposes. This affects how your CPP and OAS are taxed, often through that withholding tax we talked about earlier. On the other hand, if you keep strong ties to Canada, such as a home you still own or a spouse who stays behind, the CRA may still treat you as a resident for tax purposes, even while you're living abroad most of the year. This can actually work in your favor or against you, depending on your personal financial picture, which is why speaking with a tax professional before you move is so important. One more practical tip before we wrap up. If you do decide to move abroad permanently, notify Service Canada as early as possible. They can walk you through exactly which benefits will continue, which ones will pause, and what paperwork you'll need going forward. Waiting until after you've already left often leads to confusing delays in getting your payments sorted out. It's also worth thinking about your healthcare coverage separately from your pension income. Most provinces will stop covering you under their health plan if you're outside the province for more than 6 or 7 months, depending on where you live. That means arranging private international health insurance is just as important as understanding your OAS and GIS rules. So to bring this all together in one simple picture, retiring outside Canada does not automatically mean losing everything you've worked for. Your CPP is yours no matter where you go. Your OAS depends on those 20 years of Canadian residency. And your GIS is the one that requires the most caution since it's built specifically around living inside Canada. The seniors who do this successfully are the ones who plan ahead. They check their exact number of residency years. They understand the tax treaty of the country they're moving to. And they talk to Service Canada and a financial advisor well before they book that one-way ticket. If this video helped clear up some confusion for you, that means a lot to us here at CPP OAS Weekly Update. Please take a moment to like this video, and if you haven't already, subscribe so you never miss an update on your CPP OAS and GIS payments. Drop a comment below and let us know. Are you thinking about retiring outside Canada, or do you already live abroad and receive these benefits? Your experience could genuinely help other seniors watching this video make a smarter decision. And if you found this useful, stick around, because next week we're breaking down another topic that affects thousands of Canadian seniors, and you will not want to miss it. Take care of yourselves, and we'll see you in the next video.